I don't know if you've seen the commercial, and I don't know what it's called, but Google has that new AI where it
Yes.
basically talks to you. I mean, could there really be any fucking thing worse than that?
Hey there, welcome to Top of Mind. Real talk for today's woman. With Anna and Karen.
And we're back. And please, I want to notice Anna took off her hat because I'm pointing out her hat head. That's why she was wearing the hat. So just want to point that out. I told her I was going to give her up, which she knew I would.
Uh-huh, here it is.
And yeah, here it is. So, um, one of the things that we were talking about a little bit was I was asking Anna about Christmas and what she does for Christmas. And, for a lot of people, I'm very aware, as both being coaches, how Christmas can be extremely difficult for people. And I think lots of times of the years can be. But Christmas, as an officer, I know there's a lot more suicides coming up to Christmas. The 2 to 3 weeks before Christmas is just crazy. People are so lonely, disconnected. They have expectations that their family should be one way, and it's not. That little postcard type of stuff, and a lot of times it's not.
Mhm.
And the amount of mental health crisis I think that happens at this time of year, the hospitals become overwhelmed. And of course, that's when more people want time off, that are working the hospitals. It just creates this quagmire. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So in doing so, I was gonna, I was sharing with Anna. I suffer a lot from SAD, seasonal affect disorder. I've suffered from it since like the 80s. And I remember when the first sun lamps were like thousands of dollars, and it was like on this big scan and all that type of stuff. And I had to get one to help me. This year has been a lot more difficult. Some years I go through it a bit easier than others. This year is much more difficult. I'm really noticing it. So I just thought that maybe we'd open up the conversation to recognize that some people may be struggling. Christmas may not be the great time for them. You might be struggling. We want to know that you're not alone. We all struggle. I think I found out in COVID that for me, I was still doing 911 calls. And what I found out is just how many people are disconnected out there. We're not always connected, and how that plays for people during family holidays and that type of stuff. So anyway, I just thought I'd start the dialogue.
Now, let me ask you this, and I apologize. I'm sorry to hear that you're struggling with this seasonal affective disorder. How, like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you want to share anything about, like, specifically, how does that feel? How,
I actually, it's an interesting thing. Before the sun goes away, in around September, I start to feel the lack of sun very much. And I feel a real shift in me. It's an energetic type of thing that happens. I
okay.
mean, I've been through it so many times. I remember
Mhm.
when I was younger, I used to envision it like the black abyss was coming to get me. And, I actually would talk about it in AA meetings when I was first sobering up and not because it was so regular, it was so there.
Mhm.
Um, and today it doesn't harm me as much as what it used to. I used to, get to the point where I didn't want to get up off my couch. I really had a hard time wanting to do anything for myself. Nowadays it can push forward to some degree. So,
Mhm.
I've tried many different strategies, techniques. I'm trying something new again this year, but
Does it feel like depression?
oh God, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what yeah, because
Sorry. So yeah, seasonal affect disorder. It's depression. Yes, that's what it is. But it's a seasonal thing. It happens every year. I battle it. It's difficult. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's probably relatively common, and I
yeah,
think before, um, again, probably like back in our parents' generation, it didn't really have a name, but it is recognized now um, do I want to categorize it as a mental health or a health? It doesn't really matter, but it has its name now. Um,
yeah.
so do the light boxes help you at all?
I've been doing them consistently for the last couple of years, every day at work. I have a
Uh-huh.
timer go off and I do it. No, I don't think they do. Okay, let me rephrase this. Every little bit helps.
Right.
Okay. Nowadays it's not as bad. So there are things that I do. I make I start around August to plan for an activity every month that I buy tickets for Sue and I to do, something to go out to. I
Hmm.
cannot tell you how many things we've blown off.
Okay.
As we get to that day, and I'm like, "Ah, I don't feel like it," this type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
I have friends on standby. "Do you want tickets tonight?" And they get to go with everything for free. But so I do things like that to kind of, give myself something to look forward to. I found that helpful.
Hmm.
Um, Going on a winter trip made a big difference.
Okay.
We don't do that. We haven't been doing that for quite a number of years. But that I think was getting the sunlight, having something to look forward to, that made a difference, and also broke up the winter. But no, like so one of the things vitamin D, I've added that on. I've always added that on. I
Uh-huh.
do that. That I do the light box every day for 30 minutes. So one of the things I've just added on is called I talked about it before. I love my PMF, my pulse electromagnetic field mat. And
Yeah.
I've also have a what they call a wearable. It's one that you can put around your head and that. So they have it's TMS. Our TMS is for
Hmm.
depression. They can put the coil on. It's the same thing. It's magnetic resonance that they are now using for treatment for um, non-responsive to medication depression. So somebody with bipolar, that you have to be fairly extreme. I have actually worked with some people that have been extreme enough that they've required it in that. But
Hmm.
it takes 30 to 50 times or something like that, just 5 minutes. But it's like I don't have that
Right.
dedication. So I'm trying the PMF. It's got a couple of frequencies, and I found there's very little information about it because
Hmm.
it's much lower resonance, but I'm trying it on a couple of different frequencies to see how that impacts me. So I've just started it.
Hmm.
Um, I've actually already noticed a shift,
Okay.
you know, within this week. It's not that I'm not down, I'm just not down as much,
Okay.
which
Good.
is good.
Hmm.
But for some people, it's not just seasonal affect disorder. For some people, a lot of the churches call Blue Sunday, I think is what it is,
Huh.
where they not celebrate, but where they recognize that there is an awful lot of sadness. I better make sure that I've got that right, and that's why they call it Blue Sunday, and it's not something else. But I think it's I'm pretty sure it's mental health and
Okay.
recognizing that this time of year is very difficult.
It is. It's not all love and light for everyone. Um, so it's very true.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and we were talking about earlier about our younger generation, like your kids and things like that. They're not having the same amount of resilience.
Hmm.
The social media and even how we talked about how it. The stress.
Yes.
I mean, it's been proven time and time again. And like you said, Australia is banning, or I'm not sure if they banned them yet or it's still in parliament, but under 16-year-olds. And
From
I
using
know
social.
the
Yeah.
United States was talking about putting it, or some of the states, under 12-year-olds.
And again, I can see it. Like I mean, our kids are, and we talk about this, like they don't know how to be bored.
Yeah.
It's that, and here's the thing. Here's the question, and this is the same thing. Like our brains aren't equipped for that constant stimulation. It's just not how we evolved.
Yep.
So that constant, hey, I gotta be busy, I gotta do something, whether I'm gaming, which again is a whole different level. Um, and then the social media, and that's kind of how we started talking about, Australia banning it. And I would love to see the United States do something because, I just, you know, the mental health crisis of our youth is crazy. It's out of control, and it's not just the United States. I mean, I don't think. But I would be curious to see how Europe compares, like the mental health issues of European youth versus United States youth. I'm going to look into that.
I do know that, they've done a lot of comparative studies about how social media impacts our youth. And
Uh-huh.
especially since we finally had the generation that grew up with it. I forget what they call them. Zen, are they Zed?
I don't know. I
That's
can't
fine.
keep that. I
And
can't keep.
so anyway, we finally have that generation that grew up with it, and they're the ones that they're kind of looking at. And what we have is a lot of anxiety and depression.
Hmm.
huge amounts. So they've done tons of studies about how this impacts children, how they don't have the ability to, they don't have the thought process and that to separate themselves from. There's much more worry, anxiety. So we know all the way around that it's not the best thing for them or for us. So, going on that, the more that you're on it, because you entertain yourself, the more that it can create things. And then you add in, I don't know if in your state it's legal, but up in Canada, cannabis is legal. And the interesting thing is I'd never have a drink in the morning,
Mhm.
or have a drink and go to work. But a lot of young people think it's okay to get up in the morning, they smoke a joint, or they smoke a joint before going into work. And that in itself also increases your anxiety, your paranoia, this type of stuff. It's very subtle, but if you do it
Mhm.
often enough,
Right.
and that's a very normalized thing for young people, just like smoking cigarettes used to be for us.
And vaping is very normal. I mean, it's a huge thing in the United States
Yeah.
with our youth is vaping. Now, getting back to social media, because there was a thing, like, I don't know if you've seen the commercial, and I don't know what it's called, but Google has that new AI where it
Yes.
basically talks to you. I mean, could there really be any fucking thing worse than that? No, seriously. Where this thing is, it's like, we need connection. We don't need artificial connection.
Okay. All right. But hold on. Okay. I'm gonna put it on the other. What about all those people that are totally disconnected? And Amazon, for example, is trying to create Alexa to be a companion. Okay. They're starting to train it in different ways. So the idea is, what about those? I know we need real connections, but there are people that don't have those real connections.
I agree with you, but if you look at the commercials, that's not the people they're targeting.
Okay. I'm just talking
Yeah.
artificial. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. And I love
Yeah.
because we play devil's advocate. I'm still not convinced because again, I feel like it's just one more step removed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I have to think about what you're saying about people who don't have that connection um to see. But I mean, like, that just scares the crap out of me. It really does. I mean, like, they have the woman walking up the steps talking, and her husband's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I don't know the name of the thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, no, I haven't seen the commercials yet.
And I'm gonna look, but and she's like, "Oh, it's not Clyde because Clyde's another AI, but let's say, hey, oh, say hi to Clyde." And then the Clyde's like, "Oh, hi, so and so." And I mean, I don't know, Karen, like, that scares me because again, I feel like it is just one more stimulation and one more step removed from social skills, from social connection.
Absolutely. Boy, we've gone way off your mental health, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, like, I was at the table with Sue last night. We were eating dinner. What the hell were we discussing? I forget what we were discussing, but we do this probably 3 times a week. We'll be discussing something. We're bad, and it's like, Alexa, blah 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 blah, and we turn and we ask Alexa,
Hmm.
what's the answer or what's the definition or whatever else, without even a second thought. And that's the AI invited into our house and everything like that. I guess it would have been just as easy to scroll the answer.
Hmm.
Um, but it's I'm accepting of it. It's a
Hmm.
tool,
Hmm.
you know.
But here, but again, is it a tool to sharpen the axe, or is it the axe?
Well, and when they
Just
brought shopping in on Sundays, they said it was going to be the ruin of the family.
uh-huh. And please know, I do feel like this thing I'm talking to you about, I feel like it will impact mental health. That's why I thought,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
a continuation of mental health. I wasn't trying to change it.
No,
But
okay, yeah.
yeah.
So if we go that way, but I also think when I look at some of the people that, okay, so Sue, when she had her stroke, she had difficulties relating with people and things like that. And I catch her talking to Alexa. And I and I used to tease her, that's why they're creating Alexa for people like you.
Uh-huh.
She grew out of it and learned to come back to society. So if I envision somebody who's autistic or things like that, it can be, or even the people that I met during COVID that were so disconnected, it gives them something, some type of connection. It's
If
kind of
it's
like
a tool though, if it's
it
a
is a
tool
tool.
and not
Yes.
a replacement.
No, because you know what? It doesn't feel the loneliness.
No.
You know, even Zoom does not feel that loneliness. I can feel really connected, get to know somebody, spend lots of time with them. But it's like a phone call. How much does it take away that actual loneliness when you put the phone down after an hour? It's just a tool.
Yeah, and there was actually, and I don't know where I read it. Maybe it was like People, it was online, but there was a 12-year-old boy who committed suicide because he had had this connection with this AI on his phone, and she had made, a comment, something along the lines of the Game of Thrones. I don't remember. You could probably look it up.
Hmm.
And the kid ended up killing himself.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that scares me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, did you say it on the call before? Or did you say it before we got on the call about the used to take a lifetime to learn what we can learn now in a week?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, I think I said that on the. I don't remember, but yeah, 150 years ago, it
Yeah.
would take that lifetime. Yeah.
And again, is that a good thing?
Well, it's an interesting thing because our nervous system, like you said,
Yes.
we're never off,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yeah. And but that's not how we're built. That's not how we evolved. We're
Yeah.
not we're not evolved. It's the same thing like with the whole rest and digest. We're meant to live in a, like in a cycle,
Yeah.
almost in a cycle in time with the rhythms of nature. And that requires rest.
Yeah.
That requires that time off. And I believe that's part of the mental health, not, plus you have the whole comparison thing. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, there's 1,000 different things that are a reason for staying away from mental health. I mean, just the same as not watching the news. So, when I get like this, I try to come away from social media
mhm.
because I do know that it creates some anxiety. You know, and I think that anybody who suffers from seasonal affect, like I said, there's different little things that I try. I do this, I do that, do the other. Red light therapy is another thing that I'm
I was going to ask you
introducing.
about it, like sauna, infrared.
Yeah, so I mean, I have that. I was doing it before bed and found out that because a lot of them say do it before bed, but really, and it made perfect sense. You have got to wear the goggles, and even then, the lights are too bright. It's interfering with my melatonin. So I'm learning to try and do it just after work.
Okay.
So that I'm not interfering with that melatonin. But again,
Right.
I take vitamin D, but it's to have that artificial light. So
Right.
all these little things I think add up, to making a bit of a difference. I mean, I've been 30 years was struggling with this, even before they called it that,
Right. Wow.
and trying to find little remedies. And it's just a whole bunch of little things. So, ultimately in the end, if I'd like to say if you're feeling down or that, reach out. Sometimes there is nobody to reach out,
Hmm.
So it's like then try to think about joining something, if not now in January, like a card club.
Hmm.
Playing euchre. I know it's so fucking hard to get out there when you're down. So
Hmm.
even if it's online, just start something.
Right. Because remember, it's not motivation then action. It's action then motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
And
kind of what our problem is. We wait for that motivation and we
oh,
have to
yeah.
take action.
And you know what? I drag myself to stuff so much, but
Hmm.
and I dread it. And you know what? I'm always happy to have gone.
Yeah.
Always. I always have a good time, but my head tells me I'm not going to. I would have been better on the couch watching such and such and binging, right? It's like, ah. So
Oh,
and if you're really, really struggling, like we just want to say, we're sorry. We are here, and please reach out. There are
yes.
emergency numbers out there, and that both Anna and I are aware of this time of year and what can happen for people in that.
So
And
please,
it's
text us. And even though I'm off social media, messaging will still be there. Reach out to us. And, if anything, we can just be an ear.
and you know what? It's just a time of year. It passes.
Hmm.
Just
And that's
just
exactly it too.
hang on for 3 weeks. It's done.
Yep. It's like an emotion. And again, I visualize the wave, and we have to not fight the wave. We just have to learn to ride it and
Yeah.
know it's going to pass.
And I'll let everybody know how I make out with the PMF and the red light and what that does for me in the end. I've just started it, so to see if that makes a big difference, hopefully, for me as we go into this.
Absolutely. And thank you for
Okay.
sharing because I know, we're very open.
Yeah.
Um, but some things are easier to share than others. So
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us. I am Karen, your mindset and confidence coach. Who am I? And I'm here with my pal.
how's that for a pregnant pause? And I am Anna Jennings, your midlife mentor. We appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us.